Students, today is the continuation of yesterday's topic. So yesterday we did the moment of force, couple, we did examples, some numericals we had done, and then direction of moment of force we did, positive and negative and all. So today let us see the other aspect. What are the factors on which the moment of force depends? So moment of force depends on, you can see the formula was F into D, perpendicular distance. So definitely it will depend upon the force. The first factor will come force. Second factor will come the distance, perpendicular distance. You can write a perpendicular distance. Definitely it is the perpendicular distance between the line of action of force from the pivoted point or from the axis of rotation. And there is another factor which you don't see in the formula, but there is one more factor on which the moment of force depends. That is the line of action of force should not pass through the pivoted point. It won't produce any turning effect. So these are the two factors. I'll discuss about that little while later. So the moment of force depends on two factors, force and the distance. And when the moment of force, when it will be maximum, when MOF will be maximum, when these two factors are maximum, when force is maximum and when the perpendicular distance is maximum, then the moment of force will become maximum, turning effect will become maximum. Okay. When will turning effect of force or the moment of force be zero? MOF will be zero when F is zero. When F is zero, when perpendicular distance is zero, and the third factor, when line of action passes through the pivoted point. When the line of action of force passes through the pivoted point. What I mean to say, let us take a body here like this. We are applying a force in this direction here like this. We see that the line of action of force, we extend it like dotted line, imaginary line here, so it will pass through the pivoted point. Here is the pivoted point O. Do you think this force is being applied and there is a distance as well, but will this force cause any turning effect? Answer is no, it won't produce turning effect. So it is like this, you are having a pivoted point over here and you are giving a force in this direction like this way. Can you produce any turning effect unless the force is in this direction like this or like this? You can't produce turning effect. The line of action of force must not pass through the pivoted point or the fulcrum or the hinge or must not pass through the pivoted or the point where we are tying the body. It should not pass. So this force cannot produce any turning. The moment of force due to this particular force become zero. Even same way, suppose you are having a door and here is the hinge. If you apply a force on the hinge, will you be able to produce any turning effect on it? Answer is no. You cannot produce any turning effect when you apply the force on the fulcrum or when the line of action of force seems to be passing through the axis of rotation or through the pivoted point. So you cannot produce any turning effect on it. So though this condition you don't see in the formula, but it is also there. So line of action of force, when it passes through the pivoted point, the moment of force become zero. So it will not produce any turning effect on it. So once in the ICC specimen paper, they had given a diagram. There was a lamina. Lamina means maybe a irregular shape leaf or the sheet of paper given to you. So and they are asking to calculate the resultant moment of all the forces about a particular point. So I remember the diagram was somewhat like this. Exact value I don't remember, but the figure was somewhat like this. There was a point over here O, and they were showing different forces here. One force, suppose F1 was given here 20 Newton. The value may differs. What they have given the specimen paper. It's only an example I am giving. So this was somewhat like this, and they were showing this distance 2 meter. Here was a force F2 5 Newton, and this distance was given again 2 meter. F3 was here 4 Newton, and its perpendicular distance given was 3 meter. Here was another one F4 5 Newton, and the distance was 3 meter, and maybe one more was here F5 5 Newton, and the perpendicular distance this point was 2 meter. This was a figure given. Though the diagram looks slightly complex, but the solution is easy. And question was asking, find the resultant moment of all the forces about the point O. Here, this is the point of rotation. So they are asking to find the moment of all the forces about the point O. So we will just work out following the sign convention. So first we write a resultant moment. Resultant moment of forces, because there are many forces, equal to, we'll do it one by one. So first force I'll take F1, that is 20, multiply by the distance perpendicular is 2, right, 2 meter. And what sign we should give to it? So you can think this way. Suppose this is something like this and it's tied over here and pushing it this way, so it will go in this direction, that means clockwise. So clockwise sign is negative, so you can put a minus sign here within the bracket here. Plus moment of force due to F2 definitely will be 0. You know why? Because the line of action of this force is passing through the point O. The distance given in the diagram doesn't matter over here, so you don't have to consider this force F2. Moment of F2 will become 0. If you want, you can directly write here 0 plus, that is for F2. Why I wrote 0? Because the line of action of this force is passing through the pivoted point. So the perpendicular distance is 0. Perpendicular distance is not available. So write 0 there. For F3, I will be writing here 4 into this distance. The distance is 3. So write here 3. What direction does it turn? It turns in this direction. You can see something is out here, a rod is there, and you are pushing this way. So the rod is going to turn in this direction. That means anti-clockwise. So anti-clockwise is given positive sign. Positive sign is already there, so we may not show it. I will go for F4 now. 5 into 3. 5 into 3. What direction does it turn? So here is the something. Then this will be tilting in this direction here. That means anti-clockwise. Again positive sign. Now I will go for last one. That is F5. 5 into the distance is 2. So I will be writing F5 into 2. 5 into 2. And what direction does it turn? This is turning in clockwise direction, so put a minus sign. You can see, have a look at it. Here is something we are pushing this way, so this way push, that means this will go in clockwise direction. Now you can simply do the calculation. It's coming minus 40, 0, leave out. This is 12, this is 15, this is minus 10, and now you can find the answer. This is coming minus 50 plus 27, that means minus 23 Newton meter. Overall sign comes negative, that means the body is going to turn in clockwise direction. So this was the problem and the solution is here. This is quite simple. It may carry 2 marks. This is shown in the specimen paper, conscious specimen paper for physics. Now we will be starting the next topic. New topic is equilibrium. Equilibrium. Equilibrium, simple meaning is, general meaning is balance. But what is the definition of equilibrium? we say that is when the state of rest or motion of a body does not change under the influence of several forces acting on it, then the body is said to be in equilibrium. So there are two conditions for equilibrium, so this may be important. Definition I told you, you can write it down, you can make a note of whatever things we are discussing and whatever things definitions all I am telling you, so you can write it down word by word in your copy as well. So equilibrium's definition, as I said, no, when the state of rest or the motion of a body remain unaffected under the influence of several forces acting on it, then the body is said to be in equilibrium. So there are two conditions for equilibrium. Conditions for equilibrium. Number one, when the sum of all the forces acting on the body is zero. When sum of all the forces on the body is zero. In short, under bracket we can write here summation F0. Summation is sum of all the forces 0. The second one is when the sum of all moment of forces, about the point of rotation is zero. About the point of rotation is zero. That means under bracket you can write a summation of MOF equal to 0. Summation of moment of force is 0. So these are the two conditions for equilibrium. First condition we mainly give for translational equilibrium. Question comes specifically give the necessary condition for translational equilibrium. We'll say the first one. Give the necessary condition for rotational equilibrium, then we say the second one. We have to give the second one. But if they say give the conditions for equilibrium, you have to give both of them. Then the body will be in complete equilibrium. Both the conditions must be fulfilled, must be satisfied. Okay, now there are two types of equilibrium. Just have a simple idea about it. They will not ask you many questions on that. The first one is static equilibrium. Static equilibrium. And the second one is dynamic equilibrium. Second one is dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium. The word itself is clear. Static means rest. When the state of rest of a body does not change or remains unaffected under the action of several forces acting on it, then the body is said to be in static equilibrium. What are the example of static equilibrium? Once in ICC they had asked this question, particularly because mainly you have to think about the rotational, from the point of view of rotational motion only. They had asked this question once in ICC that there is a meter rule or there is a balance or there is a rod which is tied with a string and it becomes horizontal. When does it become horizontal? When it is in what kind of equilibrium does it have? They will say static equilibrium, because the moment of forces both the sides are balancing each other. I mean the total moment of force is 0. So they had given this question like fill in the blank type in ICC. Beam balance in horizontal position is found to be in dash equilibrium. So in the blank part you will be filling it static. You will be writing a static equilibrium. Now what is the example of, you can say a beam balance in horizontal position? Anything lying on the ground, like a stone lying on the ground, your bridge or are in static equilibrium, many vehicles are flying over it, but the state of rest remains unchanged, does not change. What are the example of dynamic equilibrium? It is not that when the net force is acting on the body zero, yet the body is moving. It is possible. Body can still move with the net force acting on it zero. Because the formula of force in lower classes, in class 9 you will learn is F is equal to ma. Force can be zero when acceleration is zero. Acceleration zero doesn't mean the body is always at rest. The body can even move. When will the acceleration be zero? When the body moves with a constant velocity, uniform velocity, like the same velocity everywhere, then the force becomes zero. So the example of dynamic equilibrium will be raindrops falling on the ground. This is the example of dynamic. One example here. Example of static equilibrium you can give a beam balance in horizontal position. One example is good enough. Static equilibrium, one example is a beam balance in horizontal position, and dynamic equilibrium, one example is raindrops falling on the ground. It will be why? Because you can see the drop's weight is acting downward, that is gravitational force. Upthrust by the air is acting upward. The two forces are cancelling each other. The net force becoming on the drop is zero, and the drop is falling with a constant velocity, same velocity throughout, like this. So the example of dynamic equilibrium you can give raindrops, and static equilibrium example you can give a beam balance in horizontal position. These two examples are important here. Now we have principle of moments. Principle of moments in equilibrium. How to keep a body in equilibrium? By the principle of moments, by applying moment of forces. We have to go for all the forces, moment of all the forces about the pivoted point on the body must be zero. You are making summation of MOF zero. In other words, we can say the body will be in static equilibrium, or the body will be in equilibrium when the total clockwise moment on the body is equal to the total anti-clockwise moment. That means you write down the equation as this: when clockwise moment total clockwise moment is equal to total anti-clockwise moment. When the two moments are equal, then the total moment of force becomes zero, and the body will be in rotational equilibrium, and the body will be in static equilibrium. So this principle is called principle of moments. One simple example: suppose we are having a body here, and here is the knife edge, means the pivoted point, and we are having a force F1 is equal to 2 Newton, and this distance is suppose 1 meter, and out here we are having another force F2 is equal to 4 Newton, or this is 4 meter. Let us take the distance 4 meter here. Then this distance will be this distance should be how much? You can just check now. 2 4s are 8. Here also you should have the same answer now. For this distance must be 2 meter. You can have a look at the rod will be in equilibrium. The rod will not be tilting neither side, because we are making the clockwise moment of F2 and anti-clockwise moment of F1 equal. 4 2s are 8, 4 2s are 8. So the rod will be in equilibrium. So this is how we balance a body, and this principle is called principle of moments. This one we apply in our daily lives in many cases, particularly the balance, beam balance, the common balance, which we buy vegetables, many things we buy in the grocery stores and all. So there we apply the principle of moments. But in the beam balance and all, the pivoted point will be exactly the midway. That's why the F1 and F2 value, the two sides length will be equal exactly. So the F1 and F2 value become equal. So whatever vegetables you want to buy, you keep on one pan, and equal amount of weight you keep on the other pan, equal amount of force you apply on the other pan to balance, to weigh it or to balance it. So this is how we take the measurement of the weight of the things using beam balance or the common balance. There we apply the principle of moments. One question you may get in ICC on principle of moments in the form of a figure like this. They may show a figure in this manner like this. They are saying that there is a rod which is balanced horizontally about the midpoint. This point is nothing but the midpoint out there like this O. And they are showing two forces over here. One weight W1 shown here, and this distance is L1. And another one they are showing here W2, and the distance is here L2 shown. And already mentioned that the rod is in equilibrium, or the rod is balanced horizontally. They can use any one of these words out there. So they are asking, write down the equation relating W1 and W2. So the equation will be as simple. You may not write, you can directly write W1 into L1 is equal to W2 into L2. Or even question may come, name the principle on which the following diagram is based. Question may come like that also. Then you can say the principle on which the diagram based is principle of moments. If they ask you state that principle, then you have to write total clockwise moment is equal to total anti-clockwise moment about the pivoted point on the body to keep it in equilibrium. That you must mention. And if they are asking you to write down the equation, say this is the equation you write. And they may even ask you the question as which of the two forces, the two weights W1 and W2 greater, and give a reason for it. So how do we know which one is greater? W1 is greater or W2? So how do we know? We will go for the distance. We know the fact that when the distance is more, force will be less. When the distance is less, then force will be more. I am sure L1 and L2, which distance is shorter? L2 is shorter. That means that side force will be bigger. So I am sure that W2 is bigger than W1. Then we would write the answer like this: W2 greater than W1, since, give a reason, since L2 is less than L1. So we can give this reason. And you can just make a note, since F is inversely proportional to this distance for a given torque, or given moment of force. You can just mention that. So in the diagram, we can simply, looking at the diagram, we know the answer that W2, because the distance is shorter, will be bigger. Here the distance is more, then the force must be smaller. So according to the question, we are writing the answer W2 greater than W2 and giving a reason for it, L2 lesser. This type of question you may expect. So I read a question, it is in your ICC concise physics book, and it is quite simple, and the question says, on a seesaw, two children of masses 30 kg and 50 kg are sitting on one side of it at a distance 2 meter and 2.5 meter respectively from its middle. Middle is over here. In the middle we put the knife edge or the fulcrum or the pivoted point. There are two children of masses 30 and 50 kg. They are sitting at distance 2 meter. 30 kg child is sitting at a distance 2 meters. So I suppose 2 meter is over here. 30 kg. So 30 kg, while drawing the diagram, we'll add the weight value 30 kgf. Mass is 30 kg, but the weight value will be 30 kg. We have to write, show the force. Force means the weight we have to show, 30 kgf. And the other child of 50 kg at 2.5 on the same side. So there is another child, 50 kg, that means the weight of that child will be 50 kgf, and at a distance 2.5 meter from it, 2.5 meter from the middle, 2.5 meter from the middle. Where should a man of mass 74 kg sit to balance it? I am sure both of them will tilt the seesaw in one direction like this. So how to balance the seesaw? We must make the man sit on the other side. Then only the seesaw will get balanced. So the man's mass is given 74 kg. So the man has to sit on the other side. That means man's weight will become 74 kgf on the other side. This distance we don't know, that we have to calculate. Where should he sit in order to balance the seesaw? So now we'll do the calculation, right? We'll be writing the answer now. Answer by principle of moments. These are the terms we should write. By principle of moments at equilibrium, total clockwise moment equal to total anti-clockwise moment. Total anti-clockwise moment. We must write this statement. The clockwise moment, I am sure in the diagram, this one is giving clockwise moment as per the diagram which I have drawn. So you can draw the diagram the other way also, like these two you can keep here, this man you can keep it here. So it doesn't make a difference. Here I will be writing directly 74 into the distance is x. Other side you will see that both of them are giving anti-clockwise moments. So we are, without giving the sign, we have already considered the sign, so we are just balancing the two sides moment. So here you can write here 30 into the distance 2 plus 50 into the distance is 2.5. So now we do the calculation. It becomes 74x. This is 60 plus multiplication of these two gives the answer 125. This is coming 74x. Addition of these two give 185. So x value is coming 185 upon 74. 37 2s are 37, 5s are 5 by 2. Divide and give the answer in decimal, 2.5 meters. In physics, we must give the answers always in the form of decimal. Don't give the answer in fraction, you may not get marks. So better always to give the answer in terms of decimal. So 2.5 meter. Where should the man sit from the middle? The man must sit at a distance of 2.5 centimeter from the middle of the seesaw on the opposite side of the children, on the other side of the children, you can say that. This is how you can conclude your answer. Let us take another case of principle of moments where we apply at equilibrium, where we are balancing something. So there we'll go for principle of moments. Here we have a question which came sometimes back in ICC, and the question was like this. A uniform meter rule balances horizontally on a knife edge placed at 58 centimeter mark when a weight of 20 gf suspended from one end. So I just draw the diagram for the question. Question says there is a uniform meter rule. There is a uniform meter rule. Meter rule starts with 0 and ends up with 100 centimeter. So I will just give the marking. A weight of 50 gf is it is balanced by placing a knife edge at 58 centimeter. 50 will be in the middle. This is 50. 58 will be somewhere here. 58 centimeter. Here is the knife edge. That means here is the point of rotation. That means the fulcrum here. And we are balancing this meter rule by placing a weight of 20 GF at one end. The end can be 0, can be 100. First we'll check the ruler also will have a weight. This meter rule is having a weight. Where will the weight of the meter rule be acting? So the weight of anything acts at the center of gravity. So that is the next topic we'll be discussing soon after this. But just have an idea only. So what is center of gravity? Center of gravity is the point where the entire weight of the body is supposed to act. And that normally is situated in the middle of the body, at the center. So center of the ruler is somewhere at 50. That means weight of the ruler is already acting here. The weight of the ruler W is already acting here. So which end you should keep the weight, the given weight 20 GF, where you should keep at 0 or at 100 in order to balance it. One weight is here, here is the fulcrum, here is the point of rotation. So one moment we are already getting here this side, that means anti-clockwise we are getting it. So we must place a weight on the other side to balance it, otherwise you cannot. If you place a force here, both the weights will be on the same side, you can't balance the rule will tilt in one direction. So then you must keep it on the other side here. That means 20 GF weight you have to suspend at 100 centimeter mark. Question is asking you to draw the diagram. The diagram is slightly tricky, you have to apply an idea about it and then only you can draw the diagram correctly. The diagram will give you 1 mark. Now they are asking you calculate the weight of the rule. What is the weight of the rule they are saying? So now we are calculating, now we can directly at equilibrium, so anti-clockwise moment and clockwise moment we make equal. So directly you can write in one word, you can write anti-clockwise moment equal to clockwise moment you can write, or you can directly do the calculation because this is the calculation part. You can directly write W into this distance. How much is the distance between 50 and 58? Between 50 and 58 the distance will be 8. This distance only you have to measure. These are the markings here. The 50 and 58 the distance will come 50, 51 like that 58. That means 8 unit will come here. So write 8 there. Other side you will be writing here 20 into this distance 58 and 100 minus 58 the distance will come 42. So I will be writing that. And now you have to calculate, do the calculation. W value will come 20 into 42 by 8, 4 2s are 4 5s are 2 and this 21 will go, 21 5s are 105. Unit will be the same, GF. You may not change the unit here in this case because this is GF and this is centimeters, so keep it in the same unit. So doesn't matter, the unit doesn't matter because we are making equation here, equating it. So this doesn't make a difference. So the answer will come, W value will come 105 GF. That means you can conclude the answer now. Therefore, weight of the rule equal to 105 GF. This is the answer. This is simple one, so you can have a look at it. Now see the one here in ICC they had given slightly similar questions, but they had slightly changed the conditions. They were saying there is a half meter rule. There was a half meter rule of weight 100 GF. There was a half meter rule. We'll draw the half meter rule, that means starting from 0 and the last end will have 50 centimeter. And the weight of the rule was given. The weight of the rule was 50 GF. Where will the weight of the rule be acting? Weight of the rule will be acting at the midpoint. That means at 25 centimeter. Weight is given 50 GF. So 50 GF is already there at 25 centimeter mark. And they were asking the rule is balanced by placing a knife edge at 29 centimeter mark. 29 centimeter mark. So 29 centimeter comes here. Here is the knife edge. By keeping a weight W at one end of the rule. At one end. W is the weight which we are suspending at one end of the rule and balancing the half meter rule. Can you guess now where should we keep that weight? This side there are two ends, 0 end and the 50 centimeters. Where we should keep excuse me. We should keep it on the other side. That means out here W we have to keep it on the other side. Then only we can balance it. Now do the calculation and the answer will come now simply. So better draw a diagram for it. Even the question doesn't ask you to draw, the question will ask you to draw the diagram, so it's compulsory to make a diagram because diagram carries marks. Here we write directly now at equilibrium. We'll do the calculation now at equilibrium. 50 into, directly we can write 50 into the distance. How much is the distance? 25, 29, the distance is coming 4. Other side is coming W into 29, 50, the distance is coming 21. W value will come 200 by 21, and you have to divide and give the answer in decimal. So 200 divided by 21, at least one decimal place you must give the answer. It goes by 9 times. 9 was the 9.52, so nearly 9.52 GF. Same unit you have to give the answer. This is how simply we can do it. So this type of problem you can expect. Now, one more problem we'll be doing on this. And the question says a uniform meter rule of weight 10 GF is pivoted at 0 mark. So let us draw a diagram. There is a uniform meter rule of weight. The weight of the rule is given 10 GF. This is 0, suppose starting with 0 and ending at 100. Weight of the rule is acting at where? At what centimeter? 50 in the midpoint. The weight of the rule is given 10 GF. So 10 GF I write. The weight of the ruler is acting here at 10 GF at 50 centimeter mark. And it is pivoted at 0 marks. A pivoted point is over here. At this point it is pivoted. Question says, what moment of force depresses the rule? First part. You can write here moment of force depressing the rule is equal to 10 force multiplied by the distance. What is the distance between these two? 0 and 50, the distance will come 50. The answer is 500. Unit now we will not have Newton meter because we will see the unit of force over there in the diagram and the unit for the distance. This is GF, this is centimeter. Just simply multiply and write out. We have GF centimeter. We may not mention the direction because this is a diagram we are drawing ourselves. It is not given in the question. So we are drawing ourselves, so we may not give the direction. This is the answer for first part. Second part of question says, how can it be made horizontal? You want to, with this moment of force, this will definitely tilt like this, no? Here is something at your pivoted point, it will be tilting like this way. So they are saying what least force you should apply to make it horizontal. Then you have to bring it in equilibrium by applying a least force. I am sure least force you apply at the maximum distance. What is the maximum distance from the point of available from here till the maximum distance is 100. Then you have to give a force over here. But now the question is, what direction you will apply the force, downward or upward, because it's already tilting down. You must give a force in the upward direction. You have to lift it up. That means you must give a force in the upward direction to balance it. So this force value will become least here. When it will be least? When the distance is maximum, the greatest. And that will happen at 100 centimeter mark. You must give the least force at the maximum distance from the pivoted point or from the fulcrum. Now we will be writing a moment of, right here at equilibrium, same at equilibrium. We will be writing clockwise moment. Any one we can write first, clockwise or anti-clockwise. Moment equal to anti-clockwise moment. Anti-clockwise moment. Clockwise moment, in this case we find that this is giving clockwise moment and the value which we already calculated. If you want, you can do once again 10 into 50 you can write, or you can directly write 500 here. Equal to anti-clockwise moment will come from this will turn in this direction. That will come F into the distance, that is maximum, that is 100. Now we can work this out. 0, 0 will go. So the value of F will come 5. Unit will be the same. These two forces will have same unit. This is GF, so this will also come GF. 5 GF. In what direction you have to give the force? Upward. That you must mention. This was another problem on that. So most probably problem we have done. Now the students, you can try the problems, numericals, and even theory questions, reason test questions based on the moment, principle of moments and the moments of force from the book and from the specimen paper or the ICC question bank. You can try over, and if you have difficulty, you can discuss with us later on. Thank you. That's all for today. So tomorrow we'll be discussing another topic, another unit of this chapter. That is about the center of gravity I have to discuss, and the uniform circular motion I have to discuss. So thank you very much for today.
Good afternoon, children. So today we will move on to the third untouched poem in ICSE and likely in 2021, The Heart of the Tree. Now the question arises, what is the implication of the word heart here? Now a tree does not have a heart, but the poet says the heart of the tree. That means the poet has presented a tree as if it is living like a human being with a heart. And therefore, you must understand that the tree in this poem has been personified. And the figure of speech is personification. Now, what is the significance of this word heart? You know, softer emotions are there in the heart, like kindness, generosity, helpfulness, softness, tenderness. The tree, imagine, has a heart, and the tree's heart is also filled with these softer emotions like kindness, generosity, helpfulness, tenderness, and softness. The reason is a tree is a giver. It gives everything to us. It doesn't take anything from us. That is why the heart of the tree is referred to as a reservoir of the softer emotions like kindness, generosity, and helpfulness. Another thing you will notice in the poem, the first line of the poem has been repeated in the beginning of all the three stanzas. Why is a word, why is a phrase, why is a sentence, or why is an entire stanza sometimes repeated in a poem? Here, the line has been repeated. If you look at the poem, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, one entire stanza has been repeated. When a poet repeats a word or a phrase or a stanza, it is to put stress and to highlight what the poet wants to convey through the poem. And therefore, this line has been repeated to remind the people, the readers, that what does a person do when he plants a tree? He helps in reaping the benefits that a tree gives to us. Now move on to the first stanza. I told you the poem begins with a question. What does he plant who plants a tree? The word he is obviously the person. What does that person plant when that person plants a sapling which later grows into a tree? The poet is asking the question, the poet himself is giving the answer. And he goes on to give the answer in the subsequent lines. He plants a friend of sun and sky. According to the poet, when a person plants a sapling, he is actually planting a friend for the sun and the sky. Now the question is, how is a tree a friend of the sun and the sky? Very simple. When you plant a sapling, the sapling grows vertically upward, as if the tree is trying to touch the sky, or as if the branches are extending like hands extended as a mark of friendship towards the sky. On the other hand, when the sun rises and shines in the morning, the rays of the sun first falls on the top branches of the trees. That way, the sun and the tree are friends. Now remember, in this line, there are two figures of speech. Friend of sun and sky. There is a repetition of the consonant sound S. Sun, sky. When consonant sounds are repeated, it is a figure of speech called alliteration. At the same time, this same line is also a metaphor. You know what is a metaphor? A metaphor is a comparison, like a simile. But in a simile, we use the words like and as. A metaphor is an implied comparison, meaning we indicate a comparison, we want to express a comparison, but we do not use the words like or as. That is a metaphor. So, a tree is like a friend of the sun and the sky because the tree grows towards the sky and the sun shines its rays first on the topmost branches of a tree. He plants the flag of breezes free. You know, we cannot see the breeze, but we can feel its presence when we see the branches and the leaves swaying from side to side. Just as a flag flutters in the sky due to the breeze causes the branches and the leaves of the trees also to flutter and sway. And by looking at the fluttering of the flag or the swaying movement of the branches and the leaves, we know the presence of the invisible breeze. Are you clear? Now see, again, this line, the flag of breezes free, is a metaphor. What is the comparison? Just as a breeze causes a flag to flutter, similarly, the breeze causes the branches, the leaves, and the twigs of a tree to flutter. The shaft of beauty. The trunk of the tree is like a shaft or a pillar which looks very beautiful. Towering high, again a reference to the fact that a tree grows tall towards the sky. He plants a home to heaven anigh. Remember, when you are planting a tree, you are also providing a home and a shelter for the birds. The birds build their nests on the branches of the trees. So, they are like homes for the birds. And since they are at the height from the ground, it is as if the nests or the homes for the birds are anigh heaven, meaning close to heaven or close to the sky. For song and mother croon of bird in hushed and happy twilight heard. You know, twilight is the time of light just after sunset or before sunrise. So when the birds return to their nests in the evening, and when darkness is setting in because the sun has already set, the mother bird sings lullabies to put her younglings to sleep. And these songs of a mother bird we can hear in the darkness of the evening. The poet is saying that the birds cannot be seen in the darkness, only their songs could be heard. It is like music, orchestra coming from heaven, which we can hear. That is why the song of the mother bird in the darkness of the evening is compared to heavenly music. Now again, you will have some figures of speech. See, a home to heaven and I. When you look at this line, you will see there is a repetition of the consonant H, alliteration. Again, look at the next line. In hushed and happy twilight heard. Again, repetition of the H sound, H, H, H. Therefore, alliteration. Are you clear? Are you clear? And we hear this song which appears heavenly, musical to us in the evening. The treble of heaven's harmony. Treble is a high-pitched sound. So, the high-pitched song of the mother bird can be heard in the darkness of the evening. It is like heaven's harmony, heaven's music, heaven's orchestra, which is very pleasing and soothing to our ears. Again, remember, in the line, the treble of heaven's harmony. Heaven's harmony, again, H has been repeated, again, an alliteration. These things he plants who plants a tree. So when you look at the first stanza, you will see that in the first stanza, the aesthetic beauty of a tree has been described. What is aesthetic beauty? Something that is very pleasing and appealing to the eyes. So here in the first stanza, the beauty of a tree, what is pleasing to our eyes, those things have been expressed in the first stanza of the poem. When we move on to the second stanza, we will see the benefits of a tree. How trees are beneficial and advantageous for us. Again, you will notice that the second stanza begins with the same question. What does he plant who plants a tree? Again, the poet is giving the answer. He plants cool shade. We all know that the branches and the leaves of a tree provide a canopy and a shade for us when it is scorchingly or extremely hot during summer. And tender rain. Trees help in rainfall. That rain helps in softening Mother Earth. And seed and bud of days to be. Remember, buds bloom into flowers when they get rainwater. Seeds germinate into plants when they get fresh water. So trees help in rainfall. Rainwater helps in the blooming of flowers and the germination of seeds. And years that fade and flush again. This line indicates the change of seasons. You know, during autumn and winter, many trees dry, many trees die, they shed their leaves. But those which do not die, it's not an end to them. When spring comes, they flush again with fresh green leaves. So, trees indicate and give us a sense of the changing seasons. Remember, these buds and flowers and seeds are important because it's from the buds, it is from the seeds that we get fresh new saplings, and therefore they are very, very important. Again, when you look at this line, that fade and flush again, years that fade and flush, again a repetition of the F sound, again an example of alliteration. He plants the glory of the plain. Now here, in these lines, look, the sentence begins with he. The he refers to the person who plants a tree. So when a person plants a tree, he is planting a glory. Now what is this glory? What is the glory of a plant? Look at these things. A tree provides shade, helps in rainfall, controls pollution, purifies the air, gives us oxygen, gives us raw materials, absorbs the dust. So when you are planting a tree, you are helping in the sustenance of this earth, in the beautification of this earth, and that sustenance and beautification is the glory that you are planting when you are planting a tree. He plants the forest's heritage. Remember, forests have existed in this world from time immemorial. It is our duty to preserve that forest that has existed for centuries and millennia in this world. So, when we are planting a tree, we are helping in the preservation of forests that have long existed on this earth. That is why a forest is a heritage. The forest's heritage metaphor. Why is it a metaphor? Because a forest is like a precious heritage, wealth that have existed in this world for long. And one thing please remember, my dear students, when you are planting one tree, you are not actually planting one tree. From the buds and the flowers and the seeds of one tree, hundreds of other trees grow, which add to the preservation of forests in this world. The harvest of a coming age. You know that trees help us in preserving the glory of this world. It prevents pollution, purifies the air, gives us oxygen, gives us raw materials, absorbs the dust, provides us shade, helps in rainfall. The point is, all these we are enjoying, but when we are planting a tree, we are ensuring that the same benefits and advantages are enjoyed by our coming generations. So, when we plant a tree, it is a reward that we are giving to our future generations. It's an investment for our future generations. When people plant crop, they do so because they will be getting the paddy. Similarly, when we plant trees, we are doing it not only for our generation, we are investing for a secured, safe, healthy life for our children in the future. And that is why, in the next line, the poet is saying, the joy that unborn eyes shall see. Children yet to be born will reap the benefits of what we are doing today, planting trees. It is making this world a better and a healthier place to live in. That way, we are ensuring a healthy life for the children yet to be born. These are the benefits of planting a sapling today. That is why the poet is saying, these things he plants who plant a tree. Now come to the last stanza, the third stanza. Again, the third stanza begins with a question. What does he plant who plants a tree? He plants in sap and leaf and wood. You know, when you are planting a sapling which grows into a tree, we get plenty of raw materials from a tree. We not only get flowers, we not only get food, we not only get fruits, we also get the leaves which are useful, the wood of the tree which is useful. He plants in sap and leaf and wood, in love of home and loyalty, and far cast thought of civic good. Remember, if I am planting a tree, I am not planting it for myself. I am not planting it because I love my family and home. When I am planting a tree, I am planting it for the benefit and the advantage of an entire society. That is the civic good. We all plant trees. We are planting trees not for ourselves, not for our family. Just as we love our family, just as we are loyal to our family, just as we are concerned about our family, by planting a tree, we are showing our concern and love for the society, for the country. That is very, very important. In the last few lines of the poem, there is a change in the tone. In the last few lines of the poem, you will find there is an element of divinity. There is a religious tone in the poem. Now, let me tell you, this world has been created by God. This earth is God's favorite creation. God nurtures this world. God cares for this world. God loves this world. Obviously, when we are planting a tree, we are helping in the preservation of the favorite creation of God. That is why the poet says, his blessings on the neighborhood, who in the hollow of his hand holds all the growth of all our land. Remember, God is holding this earth on the palm of his hand. He cares for it, he nurtures it. But it is also our duty to preserve and protect it. And that we can do by planting trees. And when we plant trees, when we are helping God to protect and preserve his most favorite creation, remember, God will always be there to bless us for what we are doing. So, planting a tree is not only for material benefit, it is not only for our own survival and sustenance that we should do it, but planting a tree also helps us to gain and win the love and the blessings of God. In this connection, let me tell you, be careful. Here you will see the words his all have been spelt with capital H, referring to God. A nation's growth from sea to sea. When we plant a tree, we are actually helping in the progress and the development of our country. We are contributing to the progress and development of our country. A country becomes rich with wealth and treasure when we plant a tree. And that is why the poet is ending the poem saying, stirs in his heart who plants a tree. These all reasons should motivate us, excite us, inspire us, incite us to plant trees. And once we do so, we are not only benefiting ourselves, not only are we benefiting the society, not only are we benefiting the country, we are also benefiting and helping the sustenance and survival of our coming generations. And most importantly, we will be able to gain the love and blessings of God once we start planting trees. And the last point. Remember, this poem was written almost 100 years back. Ecological concerns were not so important in those days. Yes, the poet is talking about the benefits of planting trees, but those benefits are the generalized benefits, like, as I have told you, providing shade, helping in rainfall, controlling pollution, purifying the air, giving us oxygen, giving us raw materials, absorbing the dust, giving us flowers, fruits, food, etc. But 100 years on, today, in this 21st century, this poem has a contemporary relevance. It is relevant today in another context. The ecology is getting destroyed. Deforestation is rampant. Greenery is vanishing. The air is getting polluted due to industrialization. The only solution to these serious problems is planting trees, expanding forest cover, increasing greenery in this world. So in ICSE, if you are asked about what are the benefits of planting trees in the modern times, you will write these, what I have referred to as relevance. See, planting trees maintains the ecology, prevents global warming, it stops and prevents and lowers greenhouse effects. And if these things are under our control, the world becomes a better, healthier, greener, purer place to live in. And therefore, it helps in our sustenance and survival. This is what you will write when you write about the modern relevance of this poem in today's world. Otherwise, the benefits have already been discussed. These benefits were there 100 years back. Those benefits are still there when we plant a tree. But this is what is important, because in this context, planting of trees, afforestation, and expanding green cover in this world has become very, very important. Thank you, children. I hope it has helped you. Next, we will take up the last of the untouched poems, television. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe, study a bit. Thank you.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the third and the last session of trigonometric identities. And today's first question is, sin A divided by 1 plus cos A equals to cosec A minus cot A. So here left hand side is sin A divided by 1 plus cos A. Now in this case you have to rationalize, which you have already done in class 9. Rationalize means you have to multiply by opposite of denominator. So here denominator is 1 plus cos A. So opposite will be 1 minus cos A. After that, you multiply it, sin A into 1 minus cos A divided by. Now 1 plus cos A, 1 minus cos A. Again, just imagine A plus B. A minus B is A square minus B square. Now sin A, 1 minus cos A divided by 1 minus cos square A means again sin square A. Now these two will get cancelled. Now 1 minus cos A divided by sin A. After that, right, split it. 1 divided by sin A minus cos A divided by sin A. So 1 by sin means cosec A, cos by sin means cot A, hence proved. Similarly, question number 2, under root 1 minus cos theta divided by 1 plus cos theta equals to cosec theta minus cot theta. Again you copy LHS. Your LHS is 1 minus cos theta divided by 1 plus cos theta. Now again you have to rationalize with the root into, what is the opposite of 1 plus cos theta? 1 minus cos theta divided by 1 minus cos theta. Now under root 1 minus cos theta into 1 minus cos theta is 1 minus cos theta whole square, because you are multiplying the same number. 1 minus cos theta, 1 minus cos theta 2 times means 1 minus cos theta whole square divided by, now again 1 plus cos theta, 1 minus cos theta means a plus b, a minus b, which is a square minus b square. After that, numerator you copy as it is, 1 minus cos theta whole square divided by, now 1 minus cos square theta means again this is sin square theta. Now this under root is for both numerator and denominator. You can cancel these two with square root. Now 1 minus cos theta divided by sin theta, again split individually. 1 divided by sin theta minus cos theta divided by sin theta. 1 by sin theta means cosec theta. 1 by sin theta means cosec theta minus cos theta by sin theta means cot theta, hence proved. Now question number 3, tan square theta divided by sec theta minus 1 whole square equals to 1 plus cos theta divided by 1 minus cos theta. Again, what is your left hand side? Tan square theta divided by sec theta minus 1 whole square. Here, instead of tan theta, you can write, instead of tan square theta, you can write sin square theta divided by cos square theta. But if you convert tan into sin by cos, the method will be lengthy. So what you have to do is, now another formula for tan square theta is sec square theta minus 1 divided by sec theta minus 1 whole square. Now, if you look at this sec square theta minus 1 properly, it is in the form of a square minus b square. Now a square minus b square means a plus b divided by a minus b divided by, again sec theta minus 1 whole square means you write 2 times sec theta minus 1 divided by sec theta minus 1. Now these two will get cancelled. After that, sec theta plus 1, sec theta minus 1. Now sec theta means you can easily convert 1 by cos theta plus 1 divided by 1 by cos theta minus 1. So LCM is cos theta. LCM is cos theta. So here it will be 1 plus cos theta divided by, again what is the LCM? LCM is cos theta. It is 1 minus cos theta. Now if you reciprocal it, these two will get cancelled. So answer is 1 plus cos theta divided by 1 minus cos theta, hence proved. Okay, now question number 4. Here left hand side is tan A divided by sec A minus 1 plus tan A divided by sec A plus 1 equals to 2 cosec A. Now in this case you have to take out LCM. You can write LHS and copy this left hand side question, it's up to you. Now LCM is sec A minus 1 sec A plus 1. Okay, now these two will get cancelled. So what is left is tan A into sec A plus 1 plus tan A into sec A minus 1. After that, you just multiply tan A into sec A plus tan A again plus tan A into sec A minus tan A divided by, now sec A minus 1, sec A plus 1, you just imagine A minus B, A plus B, which is A square minus B square. Now plus tan A minus tan A will get cancelled. Now tan A into sec A is tan A sec A plus tan A into sec A is again tan A sec A. That means how many tan A sec A are there? 2 tan A sec A divided by, now sec square A minus 1. I have given the formula which is tan square A, and please learn all the formula, otherwise you will not able to solve. This tan A and this tan A will get cancelled. After that 2 into sec means 1 by cos A divided by tan means sin A by cos A. These 2 will get cancelled. Now this is 2 by sin A. Now if 1 by sin means cosec, 2 by sin means 2 cosec A, hence proved. Now question number 5. Your left hand side is quite lengthy and right hand side is 1. Cosec theta minus sin theta into sec theta minus cos theta into tan theta plus cot theta equals to 1. Now write LHS and copy everything. After that, cosec means 1 by sin theta minus sin theta. Similarly, sec means 1 by cos theta minus cos theta. Similarly, tan theta means use sin theta by cos theta plus cot theta means cos theta by sin theta. After that, take out LCM. LCM is sin theta. So this is 1 minus sin square theta into, again LCM is cos theta, 1 minus cos square theta. Again LCM will be cos theta into sin theta. Now here this cos and this cos will get cancelled. Then from the LCM sin theta is left. Now sin theta into sin theta is sin square theta, same goes here, plus cos square theta. After that again formula, 1 minus sin square theta means cos square theta divided by sin theta into 1 minus cos square theta means sin square theta divided by cos theta into again sin square theta plus cos square theta. First identities of trigonometry, which is 1. So 1 divided by cos theta into sin theta. Now in numerator there is cos square and denominator it is cos and one more cos is here. So cos into cos is cos square. Similarly, sin into sin is sin square. So your right hand side is 1, hence proved. Now question number 6. Tan square theta minus sin square theta equals to tan square theta into sin square theta. Now left hand side is tan square theta minus sin square theta. Similarly, you copy LHS and write these two values. After that, sin square theta means tan square theta means sin square theta divided by cos square theta minus this you copy as it is. After that, take out LCM again. LCM is cos square theta. Now sin square theta minus this will be sin square theta into cos square theta. After that, take out common from numerator. So your common is sine square theta. So 1 minus cos square theta divided by cos square theta. After that, sine square theta divided by cos square theta is tan square theta. Sine square theta divided by cos square theta is tan square theta into 1 minus cos square theta means sine square theta. Sine square theta, hence proved. Now we'll do question number 7. Under root sec a minus 1 divided by under root sec a plus 1 plus under root sec a plus 1 divided by under root sec a minus 1 equals to 2 cosec a. Now again you have to take out LCM with root. Take out LCM. Your LCM will be sec a plus 1 into sec a minus 1 with root. Now sec a plus 1 will get cancelled. Now what is left? Under root sec a minus 1. Now this under root sec a minus 1 you have to multiply with numerator, which is also under root sec a minus 1. So it will be under root sec a minus 1 whole square plus similarly under root sec a minus 1 under root sec a minus 1 will get cancelled. Now again under root sec a plus 1 under root sec a plus 1 you have to multiply. You will get under root sec a plus 1 whole square. Now this under root and this square will get cancelled. That means sec a minus 1 plus sec a plus 1, you can use bracket, divided by sec a plus 1 sec a minus 1 is under root sec square a minus 1. A plus b, a minus b will be a square minus b square. After that, this minus 1 and this plus 1 will get cancelled. Now sec a plus sec a is 2 sec a divided by under root. Now again sec square a minus 1. Sec square a minus 1 is tan square a. Here also this square and this root will get cancelled. Now 2 into sec means 1 by cos a divided by tan. Tan means sin a divided by cos a. Now 2 ones are 2 by cos a into cos a by sin a. So this and this will get cancelled. So 2 divided by again sin a. Now if 1 by sin a means cosec a, so 2 by sin a will be 2 cosec a, hence proved. Now question number 8. Again here left hand side is quite lengthy and the right hand side is 2. 1 plus cot theta minus cosec theta into 1 plus tan theta plus sec theta equals to 2. LHS 1 plus, now cot theta means cos theta by sin theta minus cosec theta means 1 by sin theta. Again 1 plus tan theta means sin theta by cos theta plus sec theta means 1 by cos theta. Now take out LCM. So obviously LCM is sin theta. So here it will be sin theta plus cos theta minus 1. Sin theta plus cos theta minus 1. Again LCM is cos theta. Now cos theta plus sin theta plus 1. Now from here if you look at these two, sin theta plus cos theta and cos theta plus sin theta is same thing. Okay, now sine theta plus cos theta minus 1, cos theta plus sine theta plus 1. You just imagine only this portion. This portion. This portion, it is, just imagine this is A and this is B. So here A minus B into A plus B. Did you understand? Sine theta plus cos theta we have taken as A, and this one we have taken as B. So it will be A minus B, A plus B, means A square minus B square. Here the value of A will be sine theta plus cos theta whole square minus 1 square. 1 square is 1 only, divided by sine theta into cos theta. Now sine theta plus cos theta whole square. Again, A plus B whole square. A plus B whole square means what? A square plus B square plus 2AB. A square plus B square plus 2AB minus 1 divided by sine theta into cos theta. Now, sine square theta plus cos square theta is 1. 1 plus 2 sine theta minus 2 sine theta cos theta minus 1 divided by sine theta into cos theta. Now, this one and this one will get cancelled. Sine theta cos theta, sine theta cos theta cancel. So what is left? 2, which is right hand side. Now today's last question, question number 9. Here sine A divided by 1 plus cot A minus cos A divided by 1 plus tan A equals to sine A minus cos A. I think this is ICSE 2020 question, if I am not wrong. This is ICSE 2020, 2015 and 2003. These three questions are same. Now here, if you take LCM, you will not get the answer. If you take LCM, you will not get the answer. You have to convert this cot and tan. 1 plus, this cot means cos A divided by sine A minus cos A divided by 1 plus sine A divided by cos A. Now you take out LCM for denominator. What is denominator out here? Sine A. So if you take sine A common, this is sine A plus cos A minus similarly cos A. LCM is cos A. This is cos A plus sine A. Okay. Now because of the reciprocal, this will go up. This will go up. That means sine into sine. Sine into sine is sine square A divided by sine A plus cos A minus similarly cos into cos. Cos square A divided by cos A plus sine A. Now take out LCM. LCM here is sine A plus cos A. Sine A plus cos A. After that, cos A. Cos A, sine A plus cos A, LCM. Now here sine square A minus cos square A. Now sine square A minus cos square A means again A square minus B square. A square minus B square means A plus B, A minus B. It means sine A plus cos A and sine A minus cos A divided by sine A plus cos A. Now these two will get cancelled. What is left? Sine A minus cos A. What is left? Sine A minus cos A, hence proved. This much for today. Thank you very much. Hope you have enjoyed. Hope you have understood. With this, we have finished trigonometric identities. Please learn the formula and please revise whatever question I have done in 3 days. Thank you very much.